How is everybody? Hey, Harmony. And Albert, cool. Salut. Cool, I love being on the second day, like right before lunch, so everybody's both hungover and kind of hangry. So thank you for bearing with me. I'll try to make this somewhat interesting. I'm gonna change it up a little bit. I'm not gonna talk about Web3. I'm from the advertising technology and AI space, so I'm a co-founder of something called ai.pt. So I'm based here in Lisbon, and we have a team that's been building community around AI product development here in Lisbon, organizing a bunch of events and building teams around various projects with investments in a startup studio. So I'm going to talk to you, my talk is called Cutting Through the Fog, Unraveling AI in Digital Media. So my background is in advertising technology. I've been in the industry for about 15 years now. I talk, so I'm actually writing a book right now by this title called Cutting Through the Fog. You might have seen my co-founder, Kunal Gupta, talk at some other events. So one of the companies that we've started recently is called Spark Publishing. So we are an AI-enabled book publishing company for founders and thought leaders who have big ideas but not a lot of time. We help you publish your book in 100 days or less. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm working on. So essentially, my book, Cutting Through the Fog, I look at AI and kind of the way that it's scaling in the industry and how it's impacting our markets and our economies through the lens of advertising. Who here loves ads? Anybody? Yeah, all right. So they say we should start with like a personal story. So I'm going to tell you guys a quick story just to kind of tee this up. So I'm a climber. I've been climbing mountains since I was 12 years old. And I had a really interesting experience when I was 17 years old. I almost died. I almost actually froze to death on a mountain. What happened was we were climbing a mountain in Colorado called Long's Peak. I was working for a guiding company, and we were up there in the winter on a training climb, and we got 2 days in, we were halfway up the mountain, and what happens in the winter when you're climbing is oftentimes you have storms that arrive. The weather is unpredictable. And we had a storm hit right as we were reaching the crest of this mountain, and I got separated from my group. The fog closed in. I had whiteout conditions. I couldn't see anything. And I wandered around for a couple of hours in negative 30-degree temperatures, so 30 degrees below zero. I became hypothermic, and I fell asleep next to a rock. Long story short, a friend of mine found me, pulled me into the tent where we had to stay for 2 days for the weather to lift. During that time, we couldn't see anything. We were closed in. We couldn't see the mountain. We couldn't see the path. I couldn't find my camp. I couldn't find my friends. And it was because of the snow. But when the fog lifted, we were able to see the mountain, we were able to see our objective, and we were able to see the path out of there. We were too tired and weak to continue, so we went back down the mountain. But I tell this story because I find that a lot of times when we're at the cusp of technological change, we're entering a sort of foggy area where the advertising or marketing hype around a technology often clouds what we can see of how the technology is going to roll out and how it's going to impact the world. And so with AI right now, anybody? Help? No? There we go. All right, so with AI right now, what we're seeing is a lot of excitement, but also a lot of fear. If you read the press, you get this equal mix of like, AI is going to be revolutionary, it's going to change the world, and then you also get people who are doomers saying, you know, AI is going to destroy us all and it's going to be horrible. I tend to be an optimist about these things, and I find that coming from the advertising industry, there's a lot of things that we've already learned. There's kind of already a map for how this is going to actually roll out. And I kind of agree with Jan LeCun here. If you don't know who Jan is the head of the machine learning program at Meta. He's also a professor at NYU. And he's been instrumental in kind of developing machine learning and deep learning over the past 15 or 20 years. And he basically says, if you're worried about AI causing mass unemployment, you shouldn't. He also says, if you're worried about machines taking over the world, you also shouldn't. And it's more important to look at what's actually happening and what is real. So I come from the advertising industry. Like I said, I've worked in it for a number of years, and there's actually a lot we can learn about how AI is going to impact the broader economy, I think, from what we've seen in this industry over time. So there's a reality that maybe some people ignore, but ads actually, throughout history, have driven a lot of innovation, or at least they've moved in lockstep with innovations as they come along. So join me on this quick journey. So it actually started 5,000 years ago. The first ad was this piece of papyrus written in Egypt by a guy named Hapu. He was trying to sell rugs. He was also trying to find a lost slave because humans are awful. By the 1800s, we had the first ad-supported content with penny presses. First TV ads in 1940. But then already in the 1960s, AI, or the concepts that would lead to what we call AI today, were already impacting this industry. So we had MMMs very early on, marketing mix models, which were the first attempt to apply regression analysis and other data models to advertising and media. By the 90s, we had ads going digital. This is actually the first banner ad that was ever run. It was run on Wired magazine back in the early 90s at the very advent of the internet. By the 2000s, advertising had the second contact with AI. So at the time of real-time bidding and kind of the emergence of big data, we started using these models again at a larger scale to optimize this time for advertising pricing, bidding logic, and the way that we actually purchase and transact on ads. So by the 2010s, AI was actually already everywhere. I'm talking to a crowd of technology people. You guys know this, but by already in the 2010s, every mobile app, every advertising platform was already learning machine algorithms, primarily for predictive models to predict pricing for the ads that they were running, also to predict specific outcomes and the activities or actions that users would be taking on a site. And then all of a sudden in the 2020s, AI kind of comes into the mainstream with generative AI. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's minds are blown by ChatGPT and Midjourney and all of these things. I show this history, though, to kind of illustrate that this is not new. This has been going on for decades already. So we've been automating this industry for a number of years. In fact, the level of automation is pretty massive. And so if we kind of ascribe to the idea that automation and AI is going to replace jobs or replace humans or somehow fire Don Draper, the reality is that that's not happened. So while we've automated the industry pretty significantly, spending in the industry has actually dramatically increased over the same period of time. And what do you think happened to employment in this industry? Anybody? It didn't rise. It actually stayed flat. So what was happening was there was a lot of additional value creation in the advertising industry, a lot more spending, a lot more dollars coming in. There was a lot more corporate profits, a lot more of moving money around. But ultimately, the number of employees remained relatively constant throughout that period. And my point here is it's not a simple story, but automation does not necessarily lead to job loss or other types of negative impacts on the broader economy. And the reality is when people say that AI is going to enable us to cut costs aggressively, IBM CEO said that they were going to reduce their workforce by 30%. I don't believe that's going to happen because I believe that competition leads to a place where the winners are the ones who create additional value with innovation, not the ones who use it to simply cut costs. So the winners are thinking in terms of delivering more value. So what does that look like in my industry? So one of the things that we've seen over the past 10 years and is now accelerating significantly with generative AI is more creativity. So this was actually a campaign we ran for Cadillac back in 2017. Already in 2017, we were using automation tools to build hundreds of different versions of video ads. This was before generative AI existed. So today what we're seeing is this at a much larger scale. So large advertisers are now using these tools to generate literally thousands of versions of ads that we're then able to go out and try to test and optimize to deliver better results for the advertisers. So this is a case of not reducing the budget. This was, they spent over $1 million on this execution. The budget wasn't reduced. Instead, we just delivered far more value to the advertiser. The other thing we're seeing is better insights. So what machine learning allows us to do is to go in and do research and understand how consumers are interacting with ads in ways that we never have been before, because they simply were cost prohibitive and they were not enabled through traditional just teams doing the work. So you're seeing really robust multivariate creative testing, using this against the types of contextual. We have a computer vision company back in the back. We're using these technologies to deliver ads in a better way and to do it with privacy concerns at the fore. So as we see kind of cookies disappearing, so one-to-one data matching is going away, we're using these tools now to better adapt and test ads so that we can deliver them to the right consumers without having to track you across the internet and cookie your browser. And I think one of the most important things that I've taken away from all of this as somebody who works in the industry with agencies, with brands, is we find that as we reduce the amount of time necessary to actually deliver the value for an ad campaign, it allows us more time to build relationships. It allows us more time to train teams, to build skills, and to build customer relationships that actually deliver more value. So, with ai.pt, I mentioned we've built an agency. It's called Jetson. You can find us at getjetson.ai. And essentially what we do is we help brands and advertisers apply these types of tools into their workflows to realize time and cost savings so that they can deliver more value for their customers. And so one of the things that when we started researching this stuff that we were really interested in was trying to figure out, like, okay, given where AI is today, where generative AI, what it allows, what the other types of machine learning models allow in bidding technologies and in media buying, how much time do we actually save? And what we've seen pretty much across the board is every incremental step in new technologies coming out and being integrated into a workflow successfully, it generally results in about a 30% time savings. We've seen this with our teams where we're able to do about 30% more in a given amount of time. And I point this out again to touch on the point that this means I still need humans for the 60% of the value that we're driving. The machines are just augmenting our ability to deliver more value. So, as a few kind of takeaways, the way I see this is not something that is going to happen overnight. If you think about the timeline for AI, like deployment, you can compare it to other technology deployments. The joke in my industry is if you went to Cannes Lion, the advertising event in France every summer, since 2009, people started talking about what we called the year of mobile. I don't know if any of you are from this industry, but the year of mobile started in 29, and you could still see people getting on stages with microphones talking about the year of mobile in 2018. In fact, there was a survey run by a trade publication a few years ago that surveyed 100 different ad executives in the industry asking when was the year of mobile retrospectively, and they got answers that varied from 2001 to 2019. So, I say this also to illustrate that I think that AI, and probably Web3 as well, these are long processes of rollout and of tech adoption that take decades, not years. If I think about the timeline of the actual investments that are going into AI in my industry today, everybody is getting up on stages talking about it, but the budgets to even start testing these tools are just being allocated in large organizations for 2024. So the timeline for a large company to go and test an AI automation in their workflows for advertising is at least going to be another year. So I think we're still a decade out from any real major impacts on jobs and on kind of the industry. So where we are today and what I help clients with is testing and learning. We go into brands, we go into agencies, and we help them build protocols that take existing workflows and then try to automate those workflows. We run tests and we try to understand where can we actually deliver more value for our clients and where are the areas that are going to be less valuable. This helps, obviously, business leaders understand where to be investing and where to be training staff for the future. So that is all I've got. Again, I am Grant Gudgel, so ai.pt, you can't see it down here, the Gudgel. Find me on Twitter, find me on LinkedIn. And then, like I said, our website is getjetson.ai. If you are looking to automate anything in the way of marketing or advertising, give us a call. Also, if you want to write a book, talk to me. I've almost finished mine, and we would love to help you do yours. So thank you very much. I'll let you go have lunch, drink some water.